everybody. Welcome to the gathering room here at ESPN Chicago, or as we like to call it, the drinking room. I think we're going to petition to officially change the name, but we're going to drink some whiskey today, and I want to introduce my esteemed panel. Well, two of them are esteemed, and this guy not so much. You might know Danny Lynch from our sales and marketing team, one of our MCs here. But this is Brian Nation, world famous distiller. This is David Perkins, world famous in the whiskey world, who started maybe a brand you've heard of and a distillery you've heard of, High West, before. And they're here with their new collaboration. And if you've been listening to the station recently, you've heard us talk about it. Keeper's Heart. You got the Irish American, the bourbon, some other awesome stuff they brought from O'Shaughnessy Distilling up in Minneapolis. Brian, David, Danny, welcome. How are you guys?
Great, thanks very much. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you guys here. Thanks for. We always like it when people come bringing gifts. Like,
yeah,
these are the best gifts.
We love bringing gifts.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Great.
These we've had. These have been in the market for a little while. We got a couple of higher end things that we want to taste, like this 10-year single malt, and then we've got a 110 proof, nice full expression. So we'll end with that one, right? Let's start low and work our way up. Always the best advice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? So let's talk a little bit about the Irish American. So Irish whiskey, pot still, grain. What are we talking about?
It's actually a combination of 4-year-old pot still, 4-year-old grain whiskey, both from Great Northern Distillery in Ireland, and then 4-year-old American rye from MGP in Indiana.
Beautiful. So there's the Irish American tie-in. You've got some Irish whiskey, some rye whiskey. What's the proof on this one, guys? This one's 86? Okay, 86. Yeah. I always say these are nice, like sort of entry-level, good cocktail whiskeys for the people who maybe don't love real full-proof, high-proof stuff. This is like a great way to kind of get into whiskey, don't you?
That's exactly right.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's how we think about it.
So what I really dig about Irish whiskeys, and while I mostly drink bourbon and rye, my first sort of love into the whiskey world was Irish whiskey on a trip to Ireland in 1998. But I tell you, every time I go back to Irish whiskeys, the fruit notes on Irish whiskey it's so much different than American whiskey in a lot of ways.
It is, and I think the beauty about Keeper's Heart Irish plus American, it's bringing the best of both Irish and American distilling traditions together. So you're getting, an extra dimension of mouthfeel, flavour and taste compared to that of 100% Irish or 100% American whiskey. It's got great complexity, it's got lovely fruits as you describe it. There's lovely confectionery sweetness as well. The rye really does enhance the overall sweetness as well as adds spiciness to the herbal earthiness of the pot still. It's really a great taste experience.
I love that.
You still get your fruit.
You totally do. I mean, like,
stands out.
Especially in the nose, right? Yeah. I mean, when you start... Go ahead, Danny, don't be shy. When you get these on the nose, like, you can't help but get like orchard fruit notes, right? Like green apple kind of notes and stuff like that. It's awesome.
You've been reading up on these.
I'll tell you, it's been many years of drinking these.
All right.
I like
these are professional.
I like the way Brian put it, like that confectionery, like sweetness kind of. Like that's a great way to describe some of the complexity in that and where some of the sweetness is coming from in that, I think.
Absolutely, and I think, David, you always talk about candied ginger.
Candied ginger is what I get. Yeah. It's similar kind of notes, but there's a spice from the rye.
Yeah, I like that.
And the sweetness, and for me, that combines to make that ginger spice.
Yeah.
Wow, you're gonna have to use that in your
candied ginger is good.
Yeah. Wow, I mean,
Who doesn't like candied ginger?
I know, right?
I
know.
Yeah.
How did David? Like, how did you get kind of into this collaboration, coming from opening up a distillery that was doing bourbons and ryes and like bringing Irish whiskey and sort of American whiskey together?
I had a man crush on Brian.
Is that right?
I stalked him, and I finally succeeded.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, right. I mean, I felt like alone, but now you're saying that. It's not just me.
No, it's not just you.
So, I mean, Brian and I became friends a long time ago, and the owners, the O'Shaughnessy's, super cool people, they called me up and asked advice. And, you opened a restaurant, how did it work? To me, and I said, worked for us, but they're hard businesses, but they did a restaurant. It's a very elegant place if you haven't been to Minneapolis.
It looks amazing.
Beautiful, elegant, great food, but the place just feels good. Kind of like High West. I mean, it's a really special place. And I fell in love with those guys, but having known Brian and the idea of creating something that hasn't been created, that was fun. I didn't know anything about Irish whiskey. In fact, I didn't really like it. But I did like Redbreast 21.
Yeah.
I love Irish whiskey now. Yeah, who doesn't like that? And the combination of these things here, wow, who'd have thought it would work?
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and it is like a first. It's kind of cool that you guys are doing that. So that's the Irish American. That's some of that rye spice. You really do pick it up too. It's incredible. Like
Yeah, nice bright.
all the
notes.
fruitiness, but then some of those nice rye spice notes. Then we also have the Irish plus the bourbon. And are we talking about sort of a similar combination here, Brian? Where
Well, it's again Irish pots and Irish grain and,
Right.
and bourbon, but this time it's a more bourbon forward whiskey. You've
Okay.
got that bourbon very much to the fore when you nose it and even when you taste it, but the pot still has a massive impact on the overall taste experience as you begin to taste it.
Yeah, you can also, I think, you might not be able to see necessarily just on the video, but if you put these side by side at your house, if you're doing a tasting, you can just look at it and you see the difference.
Yeah.
You see a little bit more of that bourbon forward. It looks like that sort of deeper color.
Exactly, and it's higher proof, so we've gone from
Yeah.
86 proof to 92 proof.
I think you're right about the nose too. It definitely is. Certainly, noses more like a bourbon. This one blind would maybe even. This one's like, to me, blind. I'd say that's got to be an Irish. It's like it's almost no brainer. It's so familiar, those Irish notes. And then this one would be more of like, I'd be more curious. I'd be like, I don't know, but it is more bourbon forward.
Definitely, yeah.
You're right about that.
And think of the rearward part, bourbon forward, but rearward. The bourbon has this long flavor because of the pot.
Yeah.
The pot gives you this oily
That
finish.
mouthfeel, that oily.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it really enhances the bourbon and makes it a better bourbon with that
Yeah.
pot in there.
And it keeps going on. The finish, it's a very quite long, pleasant finish, you know.
Finish is really good on this one too,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, and for what is it, 92 proof? I mean, you'd even think maybe a little bit more the way that finish just kind of keeps going.
And that's that Irish pot, the nice, thick, viscous, chewy whiskey
Yeah.
that really adds to the bourbon.
I love that mouthfeel on that. You're right.
Yeah.
You get a little bit that creamy, viscous.
Very
yeah.
creamy.
Yeah, I love that. Now what else we have? We've got a 10-year single malt. This one is aged in, all right, I don't know what Malaga wine
So,
cask is. What's
so
that?
effectively what it is, it's 10-year-old single malt that we sourced from Great Northern Distillery, but it's ex-Cooley Distillery stock. But what we did was, sometimes when you have a single malt, it can be quite dry on the palate. So what we wanted to do was enhance the overall velvety texture. We wanted to bring a little bit more velvety texture to the mouthfeel, add a little bit of honey sweetness and even some almond nutty flavors to it. So we finished it in a dessert wine called Malaga wine barrels. And
So it's a
basically,
dessert wine,
it's a
okay.
dessert wine. It's got beautiful grapes that are sun-dried for extra sweetness. And then we've taken those barrels that have been maturing it for over 2 years and finished for 4 months the 10-year-old single malt. And that has elevated the overall sweetness. It has brought a velvety texture to the whiskey, but it's kept the DNA of the malt whiskey as well, which is important when you're showcasing a very good Irish malt. You want to keep that DNA alive, but just to have that little bit of an enhancement.
Are the Irish laws in terms of single malt similar to the Scottish laws? Like, is it one aging season or one distilling season? Is it all, is it 100% like pot still? What are some of the laws that say you can legally say this is an Irish single malt?
So I suppose the first thing to say that it's Irish, it's an Irish single malt is that it's 100% malted barley.
100% malted barley.
That it's brewed, fermented, distilled and matured on the island of Ireland. So even the finishing that we've done on that has to be done on the island of Ireland. And then when we transport it over to the US here, it has to be transported across in inert vessels so that there's no change of flavour as it travels across. So to be calling that an Irish single malt, that's a key part of it for us.
All right, let's try. By the way, the finish is still,
It's
you
still
still get a
good,
little
isn't it?
bit of the
Yeah,
finish, and it's
yeah.
been 90 seconds. That's incredible. Like you still get a little finish of that bourbon.
Isn't that fun?
It really is.
Different.
Um,
Now this stuff's dessert.
Yeah, right. First of all, I'm getting more and more into the malts because I don't know. It's funny. I guess palates change, your ideas change. What
You
you
got
think of
kids now?
things. I do, right? I have kids
Kids.
now. I don't know. I mean, I didn't think I liked them as much, and the more you're starting to see more American
are
malts. The kid, both. You start seeing more of these American malts coming into the market now, and I'm like, oh yeah, that bready yeasty note. I do kind of like it. Like, what do you know? That chocolatey bready note.
Yeah.
I like it all of a sudden.
I love it. I kind of describe it as a biscuity
Yeah.
cereal note. It's almost like an oatmeal that you're beginning to taste.
Yeah.
But it has some beautiful fruits associated with it as well. I think what the Malaga wine does to this though is it brings that elevation of honey sweetness and some almond nutty flavors to it that you don't generally get with a single malt. And I think that has really enhanced the flavour for keeping that malt in that single malt DNA.
Very
sure.
elegant, and
Yeah,
the
it
malts
really
aren't
is.
in your face like a bourbon.
Yeah.
They're more subtle.
No,
And
they are. They're much more subtle.
for
Yeah.
wise guys, you're a wise guy.
I don't know. Oh wow, yeah, that's got an interesting finish too. It's so much different. I feel like than these first two.
Yeah.
But you get that malt, a little of that biscuit note, the honey on the back, kind of like that sweet. Yeah, it's really nice.
And I also think that when you talk about that difference finish, it's almost like this kind of a barley cereal note towards the end. And I love that about single malt. I also love it about single pot still as well, because being matured predominantly in refill barrels, you tend to get a lot more of the distilled character towards the end as well, rather than just a full blown oak contribution or an oak finish. So
Right.
you've got a nice distillate
a little bit more
contribution.
subtle maybe or
Yeah.
something there, yeah. And also a little like oats, a little wood spice too
Yeah.
in the back. It's nice, yeah. Wow, that's really good. That's unique. That's interesting. And then here's another one. This is the Irish American, and this is all the way up to 110 proof. So now we're speaking my language. I like
This is dessert.
dessert. We've
Yeah,
gone like
it's
from
really-
dessert to dessert.
Yes,
Dessert.
it's just yummy.
We got to finish with that one, right?
Yeah, and
So
I-
same as the Irish American, but just we're up in proof. Is
It
that
is,
it?
yeah, and I think this is one where we really listened to consumers who were tasting our whiskey and enjoying it and suggesting we go for a higher proof version.
Okay.
What we also do is we offer a single barrel opportunity for people that want to come to the distillery. We take the actual blend of Keeper's Heart Irish plus American at cask strength and finish it in different type barrels. And while we're doing that, we offer it at 110 proof or cask strength. And when we're tasting it with people to give them a baseline to taste against, we do it against 110 proof
Nice.
Keeper's Heart. And as people were tasting it, a lot of them were going, "Can we just get this?"
Right. Yeah.
So
Can I
we
just
were
go with
saying,
this?
yeah, it's worth listening to. This
That's
is worth
Carmen.
trying because it does taste great. And so we came up with a limited edition bottling of it, and so far the reaction has been exceptional.
And every year, you guys think this will be kind of a similar thing? It'll be a limited release every year, or will you change it up a little bit?
Well,
Or you'll just
it
go-
all depends. I mean, at the moment we're very happy with the way it's going, and
Yeah.
you know, who knows, it might end up as a continuous skew at some point. We don't know.
Depends on how
Okay.
many people buy
I
it.
guess so,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
See what that demands ultimately.
That's right.
Which will be high.
And when you like, it's
cool.
a pure concentration of the flavors that you get. You get at Keeper's Heart Irish plus American. For me, and it's interesting because we differ, and Dave will give his own perception on it as well. As I think that the rice spice becomes a little bit more enhanced in it. Whereas in the Irish plus American, I get more of that pot distillate element of it more coming to the fore. So I really love the impact this has had.
What do you like about this one the most, Dave? You think?
It's like having an espresso versus a cup of drip coffee. This is espresso. It's just
It's
intense.
just strong.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's in your face.
It
Intense.
is.
But it doesn't drink like
It
honey.
doesn't
Yeah.
drink like honey.
Doesn't drink like
But the
one.
flavors
Yeah,
are there,
exactly, yeah.
so the flavors just hit you like a wallop. So
Yeah, the flavors are there. Like the spice is there. You still get those fruity notes.
Yeah.
So fruity.
This does not drink like 55%
No, it does not.
ABV. It just doesn't.
It's dangerous in that respect.
Yeah, I mean it is. Sometimes those are dangerous. Like it's just sort of the right amount of heat going down, but it's not like this uncomfortable ethanol sort of burn. I mean, it's just.
But the
it's-
volumes turned up on the flavor.
Yeah, totally. No, I think it is.
It went to 11, didn't it? Wow.
I think the finish also kind of like you could go, oh yeah, this is going to stay with you a little bit longer.
Yes,
I feel like that
absolutely.
bulletproof expression stay with you a little bit longer. Danny, did you have a favorite?
Well, look at my cup.
Damn, Danny! Dude, it's 10:30.
I was really trying to taste it. I was trying to get those notes.
I was gonna save some for Travis. He's over there
Oh,
recording.
no.
His arms have to be tired.
Good
And
for
can
you,
you
Dan.
get these all at liquor stores?
Yeah, I mean
around
these are
Chicago?
everywhere.
Or
And
is-
you guys are in Benny's.
Yeah.
And I've seen you. We've been out with you guys at a lot of different bars now too. But everywhere in Chicago, you guys,
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah. So it's available all across Chicago. So
Warehouse Liquors?
We're really
Warehouse Liquors?
excited, yeah.
Yep, good place, great place. Awesome, you guys. Well, listen, Brian, Dave, we appreciate you guys making the trip down. I've heard the distillery is. So I've seen pictures. I've heard it's spectacular.
It's a great place. It's actually a great place to come and visit. It's 30,000 square feet, but 15,000 square feet are of distillery operations, which you can go and do a tour of and see the whole place. But also then we've 15,000 square feet of hospitality, and that's fantastic
Yeah.
because you get lots of people coming in, and there's different spaces with different vibes across the hospitality side, so you can enjoy great cocktails, you know, drinking it neat, but also great food. And it's a great destination place, right alongside Surly Brewing,
Okay.
which is a big destination place in Minneapolis. So, you know, for people to come and our actual outdoor area, it backs onto their outdoor area.
Wow,
So it's
that's
interesting
nice.
to see the interaction
Summertime's
between the
gotta
two
be
spaces.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great fun.
Next time you're in Minneapolis, make sure you check it out. Brian, Dave, seriously, thank you. Thanks for the partnership, and pick up Keeper's Heart this holiday season, everybody. Cheers.
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 Thanks, guys.